So as you probably know, later on next month, Milford is scheduled to take a vote on whether or not we should prohibit marijuana shops, testing facilities, and cultivators. What is your opinion on communities in Massachusetts who are trying to do the same?
Well, I think it's giving in to, well, first of all, the other thing that the legislature did was we had an initiative process, a referendum process for any town that wanted to, a city or town that wanted to ban marijuana sales. The compromise that was made was that for cities and towns that voted under 50%, their local government, their town council or their town meeting can prohibit marijuana sales.
Just by themselves collectively.
That's right. So for any community like Milford that voted in favor of adult use marijuana, they still have to have a referendum. And so that's why Milford has to have a referendum in order to ban marijuana sales. I think let's look at the numbers. There are approximately, the studies show about 16% of the people in Massachusetts have used marijuana in the last year. So 16% of the 28,000 people that live in Milford is about 4,500 people. So you're going to be sending those 4,500 people to some other city or town to spend their money. It also means that you're not going to have the income from property taxes. You're not going to have the income from income taxes from the people that work there. You're not going to be able to create those jobs. And you know, there are a whole host of other reasons why it doesn't make sense. There's an opiate crisis in this state, and studies have shown that that states that have rigorous marijuana programs reduce their opiate overdose deaths by 25%. So there's an opportunity to control the opiate problem. So I think for
and that's great for Milford, who's already scheduled to exceed more opioid deaths right now than we did last year.
So, you know, there's a whole host of reasons why it makes sense for a community to have. Why would you send those 4,500 people to someplace else to buy their marijuana? And you know, and it's also going to, you know, for communities that don't accept marijuana commerce, they're going to just proliferate the black market where people have been forced up to this point to buy their marijuana, which is untested and unregulated.
Now, to take you back to October, your opposition during the campaign was running an ad. Let's just play the ad and we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Cool? Let's play that ad.
Question 4 would allow thousands of pot shops and marijuana operators throughout Massachusetts, in neighborhoods like yours. Shops that sell pot edibles that look like candy and high-potency marijuana. In pro-pot states, incidents of drugged driving and fatal car accidents are up. More pot shops than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. Higher potency, dangerous drivers. It's the reason health professionals are urging you to vote no on 4.
All right, so in that ad, we saw public displaying of products, we saw public usage, we saw mommy mad at little Kevin for making a legal 21-year-old purchase. Do you foresee what was depicted in that ad, what a community will look like if they welcome a pot shop to town?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
The initiative says that local communities can control mode of operation, time of operation, location. They can control signage. There is absolutely no signage or anything that can be viewed by the public. The suggestion in there that auto accidents, fatal auto accidents are up is just baloney. You know, the concern has always been youth use. If we begin to educate our youth about making important decisions as adults, and foregoing the use of marijuana and any other product that might be harmful until their brains have matured at the age of 21, then there's been a study in Colorado that says that 800 high school seniors said, we don't believe that just say no message anymore. We want a real program where we can understand the important adult decisions that we have to make. So, you know, there's an educational program that needs to be done about preventing youth use, about making sure that we have responsible adult use. And all of those things are included in the initiative. I will tell you that there are a couple of things that the legislature did, and that was one of them. You know, setting aside money for those things, and also setting aside money for folks who have criminal records from marijuana. They can get their criminal records purged or sealed, and that was one of the things we couldn't do in the initiative because of the single subject rule in Massachusetts. So there's also a social justice aspect where the Cannabis Control Commission has to take into account communities that are that have been adversely affected by the war on drugs. So, you know, all of those things were things that the legislature did that we couldn't do in the initiative, and it makes it better, actually.
Great. Now, we're almost out of time. I just want to have two more quick questions for you before you go away.
Okay.
You were just talking about the aspect of the children. I asked you this back in October. I'm going to ask you it again. Do you see legal pot sales harming our kids and families?
Absolutely not. You know, people talk about edibles. The initiative and the legislation says it has to be individually packaged, has to have only 10% THC in any one portion. There has to be portion control, and the Cannabis Control Commission will be able to regulate all of that so that edibles won't be a problem. Absolutely, I mean, kids are going to use marijuana anyway. We need to make sure that they know why they shouldn't use it,
right,
and let them make that decision for themselves.
Exactly. I think most parents would rather have their kids asking their older brother to go to a legal pot shop to get them what they want.
That's right.
Final question. What is your final message to the Milford community as they head to the polls to vote on this issue?
Well, I think folks need to go out and talk to their neighbors about why this ban is a bad idea, and you know, the folks that you had on the show earlier who are not in favor of the ban, they need to go out and make sure that everybody in Milford knows, who's going to go to the polls and vote, that they should vote no on this ban idea, you know, poll coverage. People should be at the polls on election day to make sure that everybody knows when they go in what they're voting for, and vote no on this ban.
Will, thank you.